Hello, good afternoon. Um, Welcome to our webinar about our new Salesforce online portal. We'll just give it, as usual, a couple minutes for people to come funneling in. We've got about 30 so far. We'll start in about a minute or two. And just a reminder, we are recording and we will be posting this recording for anybody to watch again after this. All right, looks like we're slowing down a little bit. We're just waiting a minute to get started while people get in and get settled. Give it a few more seconds. Welcome, welcome. Got about 60 people in so far, which is great. All right, let's get started. We want to get started on time and get you out of here before 1. Welcome to our webinar about our new Salesforce online portal. My name is Katie Howard. I'm the community partner here at Maine Community Foundation that covers Oxford and Cumberland counties. I also run the Welch Charitable Fund, Rhines Thompson Fund, Edward Davies Charitable Fund, and a couple other grant programs that are coming up. We are here for a technical training today. So 8 grant programs opened July 15th, and all of those have a September 15th deadline. The information for those grant programs can be found on the website that I'm putting in the chat right now. We're not going to be reviewing any of those grant programs or their criteria today. So starting July 15th, all grant applications to the Maine Community Foundation must be submitted through our new Salesforce online grant application system. All applicants will need to create a new account to apply, even if you've used our previous system. This has been a multi-year process for us. We've been switching from many databases used by all of our staff into one central system, Salesforce. We are really excited to share this with you after many years of work. Like with any large project, there may be some bugs that we haven't caught as we've developed this new portal. So we thank you for your patience in advance, and please reach out with any feedback that you have as you get going in the system. As part of this process, we've also changed the application to be more consistent across grant programs. So most of the questions will be the same no matter which program you're applying to. So hopefully that will make your experience even easier. Our former grant system will be available until next March, so you'll be able to access past applications. And so now we are going to run through a live demonstration of how to register and apply using Salesforce. We're recording this, and this recording, along with written instructions with screenshots, will be posted on our website early next week. And I'm going to post in the chat a link to where that information can be found. There's some information there now, but it will be updated again to be a bit more comprehensive after this training. So a little housekeeping during this presentation, please use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen for any questions that you have. And we're going to answer those live at the end of the presentation, or I'll answer them in the chat if they're sort of simple, quick questions. You can also raise your hand and we'll unmute you to ask a question after the presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Joey Lindaro, who's our Community Impact Associate and our General Salesforce whiz, who has been leading us through this process and is going to show you how to use it using a live demonstration. It's all yours, Joey.
Thanks, Katie, and I appreciate being labeled a whiz. I will endeavor to live up to that title. Again, my name is Joey, Community Impact Associate. I do most of the technical back-end stuff. If you've ever reached out about resetting a password or had questions about an application, you've probably spoken to me, and I remain in that role for this new system. So very, very interested in hearing any and all feedback that you might have about the first iteration of the application, because it can only get better from here. I will go ahead and share my screen and show you where to start from the very beginning. All right.
Looks good.
All right, so this is the competitive grant page that Katie had shared in the chat. Most of you are probably familiar with this. It has changed recently. So please go ahead and click through those when you have some time, take a look. As far as accessing the system, from our main website, it will be the same. You will either be clicking the apply button or the login button, and the pop-up menus will remain the same as well. So if you click apply here, it pops up for either scholarships or grants. And today we are going to start with the grant applications. So let's give that a run, get that going. All right. And this is the new landing page. So if you click the link and you make it here, this is where you need to be to get things started. To reiterate something Katie said, your old applications from the previous portal won't be visible when you create a login here, but you can access them from this same spot. There's a button at the bottom that says login here to download previous grant applications, and that will take you to our previous portal, the SurveyMonkey Apply version, so you can do that for your records. Again, everyone will need to register, create an account, and I'm actually going to walk you through that process right now. So we will start with click here to create a new account. All right, and I'm interested in applying for a grant. All right, and the first screen, very simple, first name, last name, email. You can go ahead and click next. The second page, all of these fields are optional. You do not have to fill them in. It's something that will show up in your account information, and it's also something you can change at any time. Obviously, in case, especially if you're linked to multiple organizations, if you're either a volunteer or you're a grant writer, you might want to use this spot to keep track of that information. So I'll go ahead and I'll just enter in Maine Community Foundation. All right, I'm going to click next. All right, so if you see this screen, it means that your email was recognized as a valid email, and you should receive a verification email. So I will see if that comes in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, I will skip that and I will log into my other email just so we can keep things moving. And please note, this is probably going to be one of the most commonly asked questions. When you sign in, you're going to be using your email address plus .maincf at the end. That's one of the username requirements in order to access the portal. Just one of the smaller nuances for that. All right, so we'll go ahead and log in. All right, and this will be the main landing page. This will be what you see when you log in. You'll see your name in the upper right. You can click on that, and there are some options that you can change, some settings you can change if you need to. These tabs at the top are how you'll navigate between the different sections of the login. So this blue bar is pretty much holding everything. The home screen, this is where you'll land. This is where we're going to put anything that's immediately pressing, like if we have an announcement about a program or anything that is just changing from a previous year's, we'll make use of this space here. The next section you'll probably want to look at is My Applications. This is where any drafts or anything that you have submitted will live in this spot. And in this section, it contains the submitted date, funding program, the organization you are applying on behalf of. Again, for volunteers or grant writers, this might be different ones depending on proposal contact, recommended amount, requested amount, etc. Let's see. For each of the applications, you can view a little bit more information about it by clicking on the view application here. And this will bring you to a more detailed overview of the application and the program that you applied to, as well as the status of your application, especially for something that is ongoing. This is something that you want to make sure you're keeping an eye on when you're going through the process of submitting, as well as the files. A copy of the most recent version of your application will be attached here. And these files are previewable as well as downloadable at any point. So you have immediate access to those there. Let's go back. In this spot is actually also where you will add collaborators if that's something that you need to do. So there's a button within the application edit screen and then manage collaborators. You're gonna pop up here, invite collaborators. Katie, I'm just gonna add you as a quick to my current application just so everybody can see what that looks like. The role field, this drop down, it has a few options right now. We're planning to expand this. Right now, it's not really capturing much. It's not a required field, so you can go ahead and skip that for the time being. So once you enter in the 3 requireds, you hit add. So Katie's been added to the list. If you wanted to add a second or a third collaborator, you would go through the same process: email, first name, last name, add, and then to complete it, you just press the invite button. And it says that it has been sent, so you can see it there. All right, so the next tab to take a look at is the open grant programs. This is the one that everyone's probably most interested in. This is what we have open right now. Here are the 8 fall programs. They all have an individual tile with their general description of what the program is, as well as a button to start the application. So let's just click on one of the new ones, 2025 Land for Communities, and jump into that. And this is kind of a landing page before you actually start the application. It includes a little bit of information, open and close date, as well as the criteria. This is kind of just something for your information before you begin, in case there's anything that you have questions about. And we can go ahead and we'll just start this one. Okay, so when you click on the button, it brings up this box that says, who would you like to create this application for? This search bar will let you search a large number of organizations that we have in our system. You may or may not be in there depending on how much interaction you've had with us over the past couple of years. So I do recommend typing in the first couple letters and making sure that if there's one that is yours, you select that one to start. And if for some reason you don't see it, you can actually just click on the organization not listed, and then it will allow you to type in the other organization name, your own organization name. So again, I'll just go ahead and start with Maine Community. As well, for anything that has Maine or a common word, it's going to give you the top couple of choices, but you can actually pull up a full list of names that would include those words, and then you can sort through, filter through that, and then click the one that is for you. So let's select that and then give that one a run. Okay. A newer part of the application in the system is we do have a criteria quiz at the start of the application. This is both so you know what the criteria of the program is as you're filling out the application, just that information to keep in mind, as well as to make sure that you are eligible for the program. We do try and save organizations from going through the process, filling out the applications, only to find out that they're not eligible for whatever reason. And we try and make that as clear as possible, and we try and connect you to a resource so you can get those questions if needed. So for Land for Communities, your project it must have all of these criteria. If you don't meet all the criteria and you click next, it will give you a notification. It'll tell you that based on what you've selected, you're not eligible for the program. It does include contact information for the community partner that manages that program. In case you have any further questions, they're very happy to connect with you and talk to you about your organization, and just to see what's going on in general. If you make a mistake and you meant to click something but didn't, you can also go back and then change it here. So we'll just click that one so we can go through. All right. So with our new system, with the way that it interacts with Salesforce, it will pull in any information from your organization account that we have on file. If you see fields that are filled, I do recommend that you review those and make sure that they're correct. Our information may be outdated. We're hoping that that gets more up to date the more we use this system. That's the goal, at least. So this stuff will fill in. For proposal contact, if you are filling this out as a grant writer, I recommend that you change the proposal contact to the representative or staff at the organization that you're applying on behalf of, because they'll be the one that receives communications regarding notifications, awards, or just general questions about their application. So each of these sections has a drop down. It contains just a few more boxes, stuff to fill in. As you can see, there are word counts below any of the narrative questions. They'll all be in that same spot. And it will update as you start to type things in. So you can keep very close track of where you are as far as word count goes. As far as the required questions, any question that you see on the screen that doesn't have the word optional is going to be a required question. There'll be various points where you make a selection, such as support type. If you select general support, obviously you're not going to see any questions for a project support grant. So those will go away, but anything that remain on the screen will be the ones that you'll need to complete. And it will tell you if you try and submit before doing so. And I'll demonstrate that a little bit later. So this stuff is just the general org information. This is for the fiscal sponsor. So in this case, this is one of those instances where if you don't have a fiscal sponsor and you click no, some of the other information that we don't need goes away. Those fields aren't required. So just to go down
Hey,
to
Joey, can I
yeah.
interrupt for a second? Could you click on yes for fiscal sponsor? We actually already had a question about what it
Yeah,
looks like with this fiscal sponsor. Could you just show us that while we're here?
Of course.
Thank you.
So you hit yes, and then that brings up the fiscal sponsor name, contact, title, phone number, email. This is just the general information for the fiscal sponsor. There's actually, same as before, there's going to be an attachment section down below where you will actually attach the copy of the fiscal sponsor agreement form that you'll need to have signed and returned. And I will also show that when I get a little bit further down. So thank you for stopping me on that, Katie, because that's a good spot to show. All right, so this is the funding type. Again, if you click project support for land, it opens up a specific set of questions. If you open up project support for other land base, it will open up another set of questions. One of these is you'll only see the ones you need again. So let's scroll all the way down. Okay, attachments. As far as required ones, as many of you probably know, the organization board or advisory committee list is a required document for all of our proposals. That's pretty standard. Here you see the fiscal sponsor agreement spot showing up, and then we also have a link to actually download that form, so you don't have to go over to our website. You can just click that and it'll open it right up. For any programs that are involving letters of involvement, we have added a set of questions that will hopefully help you filter through what you might need for that, just so there's no confusion and you're not trying to chase down a letter you don't need, or you aren't submitting an application with that you did need a letter and weren't aware of. So that's the goal of that. So depending on what options you click on these questions, it will show up and tell you what boxes you need to complete. So if you're applying for a project that includes none of these, a lot of them disappear. And then if you click none of these, as far as being none of these entities, there will be no letters required. All of our general support applications for any of our programs, they do not require any letters of agreement. They would only require these two documents, just something to keep in mind. All right. I think I'm just going to show you how to move from here. So when you create the application, it obviously opened it up in a new tab. I recommend, if you're going to walk away from your computer for more than 10 or 15 minutes, you actually scroll all the way down and press save. We do know that the program will time out after a certain amount of time. We don't know exactly what it is, but 10 to 15 minutes is pretty safe, but better safe than sorry to just save. So if you click save here, it will close down your application and it will bring you back to the application portal here. And you actually will see it pop up in this list after you saved. You will have to refresh, as I have noticed. Oh, I'm not sure how long it takes. We'll give it one more try and then we will move on. Okay. It will show up here after a certain amount of time after you press save. As far as submitting an application, that looks a little bit different. There's going to be a different button that appears for that. So I'm actually going to open up an application that is already in progress to show you that. Let's get through next. So this application is mostly complete. As you can see, you need to just type your full name in the bottom. That's the equivalent of the signature that we had on our previous terms and conditions. So you just go ahead and sign that. Once you have entered in your signature, it will show you the submit button down here. So you would be pressing submit. In this case, it will catch you if you, for some reason, did not see a field that was missing. It will flag an error. It will tell you that there's something on the page. And then if you click on the error, it will bring you to the box or question in question, which is great. It's better than searching through all the tabs to find everything. So in the case of you wanting to come back and not actually submit at this time, in order to save what you have done so far, you just need to remove your signature from the sign line, and then you press save application again, and that will save everything that you have at that point. But we'll just fill that in. So it's done. And then press submit. And then because we got all the fields that time, it will go through the full submission process. You will receive an email notification when you press the submit button. And it will be yourself and anyone that is collaborating on the application that will receive that email. As well, the status here, if it's in progress, it'll show, but once you've pressed the submit button, that should update. Again, we'll see how quickly that updates. Yep, okay, so that one shows that it's submitted. So this is how you know when you're looking at it, just a quick overview, that it's done, it's signed, it's ready to go. One of the major changes from the previous system, you can actually edit submitted applications up until the deadline. If you're looking at it and you see an error, you can still go in and press view application and then edit application and make any changes that you need, whether or not that's a budget number or adding an attachment that you weren't sure you needed and then came back to. So that's definitely a nice change from before where you had to reach out to me. That was my job in the past. As far as technical support, right now we're asking that you send all of those inquiries to applicationportal@mainecf.org. And that email address is on our landing page. Or the portal landing page. I'll just show you where that is. So it shows up right here. I manage that inbox, so I will see it. So please, again, reach out with any technical questions, any questions about the applications. And if it's not for me, I'll direct it to the community partner in question, whatever we need to do. All right, I think that just about wraps it, Katie. that's the quick overview.
But thank you so much, Joey. I know that that was quick and it was definitely like a broad overview. Um, so if you have more questions, oh, sorry, wait, let's do questions first.
Yeah.
So you are welcome to put your questions in the Q&A or raise your hand. We just have, I think, 3 questions. I answered a couple in the chat. If those answers are not sufficient, please just add that question back in. So I'm going to sort of ask these questions to you, Joey. So Patty is asking, do collaborators also need to register for their own account?
Yes, they will need to register for their own account. That's how they'll access everything that they need.
So when you add them as a collaborator, they'll get like an email that has them set up an account. Is that correct?
Yes, it'll say you've been invited, and then it will also have a link that says register here in the case of you not having registered previously.
All right, so that one is answered. Janice is asking if there's a way to be proactive and have access to the list of questions that are usually part of every grant application. Are we able to register in the new system even though we won't anticipate applying until several months from now? Joey, I can answer that or you can answer that.
Go ahead.
I'll answer that. We know sort of best practice is having like a Word document that has all the questions for you that you can see without sort of logging in, and that is on our to-do list for sure. Right now, our grant program's open, I believe, 60 days before the deadline, except for community building, which opens 90 days. So that's when you'll be able to get online and see those questions, and we are working on Word documents. You can also definitely set up an account before you're ready to apply and before a grant program might necessarily be open. Hopefully that
Yeah,
answers your question.
and you can also, because so many of the questions are going to be the same across the board for all the programs, if you just want to see what some of the applications look like as far as just the general questions for general support and project, you can start an application and not submit it in any of the programs. And that way you at least have some point of reference as well. It'll just give you, and it'll show you exactly how it will look in the system as well.
Great. Patty is asking, will our organization information be auto-filled on each application or will we have to re-enter every time?
It will fill in. That's one of the benefits of Salesforce. If we don't have that information on file the first time you apply, it won't fill in. But then if for something like an organization mission, if we don't have that on file, you fill it in. After that proposal has been submitted and the cycle is closed, that information will be updated into your account. And then the next time you go to create an application, that field would fill in that same spot.
And I'm curious, is it all the fields in the application, like your answers to the questions, sort of the last time you applied, or is it really just your organizational information?
The majority of it is the organizational information. The application questions we don't currently have pulling over at this point because there are slight nuances from
Yeah, I
program to
figured
program.
there is
You're
too.
speaking to each program individually in the criteria, so we wouldn't want you to pull over information that wasn't as relevant. The only other one that we had considered was the organization financials, but if you apply once or twice a year, that information could have changed by the time you get there, and it might be better for you to just reevaluate and enter that in rather than having it filled from the last time.
Great. Krista is asking, is there a way to download a PDF of your application in progress, like the old system?
Yes. If you, as I said, if you go into the applications here, at any point for anything that's, as long as you have pressed save the first time, because until you press save the first time, you won't even have a draft of your application. So if you just want to have a copy of the application as is, just to see the questions, you can just press the apply button, fill in your name, save, and then it will come to your applications here and you can see it in progress. And that preview is available in the same spot, whether or not it is in the final form or any version of the draft. So all of the questions will show up here.
And you can
Just this,
download them into a PDF.
yes, you can download. The download button is right here at the top, and that'll let you pull
Oh,
it out.
perfect. And then we've
That
got
was
one
a
more.
good question. I meant to mention that.
And we've had a couple questions about reports. So will reports be submitted the same way in this portal? And just a reminder that we think of them as sort of grant updates. They're not required here, but we do love to hear from people about a year after their award. So Joey, I'll let you answer that and happy to sort of add to that if needed.
Yeah. At this point, we're not able to request those updates or ask you for those updates through the system. The goal will be to be able to do so in the future. That's hopefully coming down the line very soon. Because we want to have everything in the same place for you, just so you're not searching. If it's going to be outside of the system, we will notify you via email. That would probably be me reaching out at that point. So be on the lookout for an update one way or the other for those.
Yeah, there'll be a transition period. So if you have a current grant that you want to do an update for, it might be in Apply, it might
Yes.
be in Salesforce. We're sort of figuring that out, and we will be very transparent and communicative about that, but we haven't quite ironed all of that out. Is that correct, Joey?
Yeah, and if you're not sure, you can either
Contact.
reach out to this technical email or the grant proposals at Maine CF. That's where all the questions have been coming in from the previous portal, and that email is still functional as well.
Great. I think we've answered all the questions. I'll
Can
hold
I
for
just
just a
add
second. Oh, please.
one more thing, Katie? One of the tabs that I forgot to mention, because I went into the grant programs and the applications themselves, for other questions, for frequently asked questions, there is a tab. This page is slated to change. Right now, it is just very brief written walkthroughs of different things: how to start an application, complete an application, save or submit. A lot of this is also on our website, in the online grant application section.
I'm just
Um,
putting a link to that in the chat to
thank you, Katie.
everyone,
Thank you.
not just the panelists and hosts like I was
Yeah.
doing earlier today.
So as things are changing, please make sure to check in on the frequently asked questions tab, because we're going to try and update that information whenever we make a change in the system, just so you know what has changed, and if anything that you need to do differently, it'll tell you there to try and keep you abreast of anything that you might need.
All right, I'm seeing no more questions. I don't see any hands raised. So I've shared in the chat that link that Joey was just talking about, our sort of online grant application page. Oh, Judy has a raised hand. Let's see if I can figure out how to allow to talk. Hi, Judy. You can unmute and ask your question if you like.
Okay, how did you come up with the name Salesforce?
Oh, I texted you in the chat.
Okay, sorry.
We wish we would be able to make up our own name, but this is just the product that we purchased is called Salesforce. We didn't get to name it.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
All right. So I put in the chat that link that will be updated with the recording of this this webinar. If you have more questions and they're not answered on that page, we don't have another question. That we ask that you contact the community partner for the program that you are applying to, and that can be found on the grant deadline page, which I'm going to put in the chat. And then I'm also going to call on Laura Lee, who looks like they've got their hand raised. Hi, Laura. She's
Hi,
one of
Laura.
our she also works in our department. How are you?
Hey, I just noticed a question from Paul Strickland in the chat that I don't know if you answered, and sorry if you did, and I just missed that.
I don't think I saw it. Oh, there it is.
What prompted us to migrate to Salesforce?
I didn't see that. Sorry. Thank you.
Previously, we had been working out of a wide number of systems that didn't communicate with one another. Some of the programs that just used in philanthropy in general, they're a little bit more dated, and they haven't received a lot of major updates to the point where they can communicate. The purpose of using Salesforce as a central CRM was both to give everyone in the organization access to more information more easily. It's just in terms of not having to search through a number of systems to find the information you might need, but then also for sharing things, for things that we directly want to send to our colleagues as well. And the fact that it allows us to track and help our applicants, our reviewers, our donors in the same space. It's kind of the all-in-one package, and that's to speak back to Judy's question. We didn't come up with it. It's just a massive tool that we are using to hopefully handle all of our needs and everyone else's.
All right, thank you, Laura. I did miss that one, so I appreciate that. What else? I think that's everything. Again, you know, if your questions are answered on that website that will be updated early next week, reach out to your community partner for the program you're applying to, which is on that available grants and deadlines page. And don't forget to add .mainecf to the end of your email when you're logging in. That's the
If you
biggest
take
thing
one thing
we're hoping
away,
you take away
yes.
with you today, because that's a little odd. And we really thank you for your patience as we're going through this transition. We're constantly working to improve your experience, and we really welcome your feedback and hope that this is even easier than our previous system. So with that, I think I will we'll end this webinar, and thank you so much for taking some time. And yeah, we will look forward to seeing your applications.
Thanks, everyone.